Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always. And what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to do a review of this Penn Spinfisher 6 6500 series reel. This is a reel that you primarily maybe use for surf fishing. If you're river fishing too, big catfish, things like that. But we're going to check out this big boy in this video and see what you guys think. Stick with me. I think you're going to enjoy it. Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts on this reel. Before I do, I want to mention real quick, this is not the factory handle that's on here. This is actually a Gamexus handle that's on there. And put them on there just a lot of times on a bigger size reel like this. If you're looking at playing some big fish, things like that, it just makes it a little bit easier to manipulate those big terminal tackle rigs, play those big fish with this type of handle. But that's all personal preference. So as far as the stats on this reel goes, we'll break those down real quick. This particular reel, the gear ratio on it is 5.6 to 1. And if you're not familiar with gear ratios, what that means is for every complete revolution of the handle, so every complete 360-degree revolution of the handle, that means that spool is rotating 5.6 times, and according to their stats, it's taking in about 42 inches of line per handle turn. A gear ratio of 5.6 on a spinning reel is kind of middle of the road, pretty standard, and it's going to give you the torque I think you need to be able to play big fish, and it's going to do what you need it to do as far as those, like say for instance, heavy current in the river or the heavy surf conditions. I believe this reel with that gear ratio is going to be able to handle it. So guys, as far as some other stats on it, this particular reel has 30 pounds of drag, and you can see it's got the HT100 drag system on there. And what 30 pounds of drag is going to do for you is quite a bit, really. I mean, that's a lot for any reel. I don't know that I've ever actually needed 30 pounds of drag, but this reel has that, and some have a lot more than this one does, but this is what it has, 30 pounds of drag. Also has an audible click on the drag. I'll let you guys see if you can hear that. So up and down. Clockwise on the top of the spool there is going to get you more drag, and counterclockwise is going to get you less drag. So the bearing system on this reel is a 6-bearing system, 5 bearings and then 1 roller bearing. It also has a sealed housing on it. It's got this IPX5 on here. It's something that they're pretty proud of as far as Penn goes. It's supposed to be a sealed system that really keeps everything watertight, especially from getting that salt water in there, which can cause that corrosion, and then everything to seize up from there. And guys, we'll kind of work our way from the back of the reel here up to the front. One thing I wanted to say is, try and get a better look at it here. I'm going to take this handle off here because this reel has a sealed gearbox, as far as it's got a gasket that seals right around here, and that's kind of unique to this reel. Not all reels have that, but what it does, once again, it helps keep this reel watertight, because even if you don't happen to drop this in the surf or drop it in the drink somehow, as you reel this thing in, that line's coming in, and that bail is taking that line in, you're going to get some spray on it. So it's going to get that salt water on it. If you're surf fishing, it's definitely going to probably take some sand, with some wind kicking up and such. So that gasket around the gearbox there is a big deal to help keep out the elements and all that dirt and grime. So guys, I'm going to try and give you a little better look at it here, so you can see right in here the blue grease the Penn puts on most of the reels from the factory. But what I'm really trying to show you may not be able to see it that well, is just that gasket that's in here around that handle assembly and then the gearbox to just help keep everything out. And guys, as we work forward on the reel from bottom to top here, I'm going to talk about the bail a little bit here. This bail is really, really thick. I know you probably can't really get a feel for how thick it is, and granted, it is a 6500 series reel, so it's going to be bigger to begin with. But these Penn reels have this really thick bail on it, which I really like, because it's not like some of the other reels. You get some that have a titanium bail, which are great, but they flex and they play. I'm telling you, there's no flex in that whatsoever. So a nice thick bail on this that you don't have to worry about being delicate with. If it happens to get dropped, stepped on, or anything else, that bail is going to hold up to the elements. Also, guys, before I get into really talking about the spool here and some of the unique features on it, I'll put the line capacities in a little box over here, a little picture-in-picture box, so you guys can see those. I won't run through all those, but what it can hold as far as mono goes or braid, so you guys have those stats as well. Something else I wanted to mention too before I take this spool off is you can see these lines hopefully in here, and I'll take this off, maybe get a little better look at it, focus in. But those lines that are going from the center to the edge of the spool lip here, those are yardage markers. So you know how much line you have on it or you have left on it. If you're running out a bunch of drag on a big fish, or if it just you've had to cut some line off, but you know how much line's there. That's pretty unique to this model right here. You don't see that on a lot of spinning reels. I really like that. And I think it's something that comes in really handy. All right, guys, let's pop this spool off. If you've never done that, you're just going to continue to turn the spool knob up here counterclockwise, and eventually it'll get loose enough where you can pop this whole assembly off. So if you've never done one before, super simple. You're just going to pop this whole assembly off right here. So let's pop this spool off here now that we've got this backed off. We'll pop this whole spool off. First, we'll take a look at the gearing down here. And you can see that is right there. It's going to be metal on metal, and I really like that because you'll get some, they'll have some plastic in there or even carbon fiber, things like that. But it's got the metal gearing in there. And as far as the drag we were talking about on it earlier, the drag on it is a really nice system on these pins where it basically pinches, the way I understand it, it pinches from both sides. It really applies a lot of pressure, almost like the calipers on a car brake, you know, where it's pressing in and you're getting that pressure on there. So nice and even pressure on the drag system. But anyway, that's a better look right there of the whole assembly. And you can see they got it greased up quite a bit on the spool shaft. As far as the spool itself goes, once again, nice close look there. You can see this whole assembly right here is metal in there. No plastic parts, nothing like that. So it's metal on metal, and that's always good because metal on plastic doesn't usually work out well when you're trying to fight big fish or throw big terminal tackle rigs, things like that. Another look there at those yardage markers that come out from the center to the spool lip right here, and then this band, this silicone band that runs around it, is something you can tie off on for braid. That's pretty important because if you got a spinning reel that doesn't have that, you're going to need to back it probably with some mono or something like that to let it get a grip and bite down on it. That way you don't get any slippage in that spool or from the spool if you're just using the braid on there. Something else I'll go through too is the oscillation on this reel. If you watch other review videos that I've got a bunch of them on the channel, so check them out. I'll leave some links down in the description, both spinning reels, bait casting reels, and all that. But if you're talking about oscillation on a reel, this one right here, in other words, when I turn this reel handle pretty fast, I don't want this whole reel to wobble back and forth like really, really bad in my hand, because that's going to transfer into the rod. It's going to transfer into your hand when you're out fishing. It's number one, it's going to be fatiguing, especially on a bigger size reel like this. And number two, I want it to be as smooth as possible. Obviously, any of these spinning reels is going to have oscillation to it and a little bit of wobble, but you want it to be smooth and kind of buttery rather than that kind of rough side-to-side feel all the time. The Spin, I think, does a pretty good job of taming some of that oscillation, and it's pretty darn smooth as far as the reeling and the reel handle, everything goes. One other thing I'll get into, guys, is the weight on this reel, because everybody usually wants to know, what's a real weigh. This one, once again, it's heavy. It's a metal body, and it's a larger size reel, that 6500. But I actually weighed them out on the postal scale here, because all manufacturers usually put down what their reels weigh, but that's not always the case when you start weighing them out in real life. This, though, is pretty much on the money. With the regular handle on it that it came with, it weighed 22.3 ounces, and that's exactly what their website says it should weigh. And then with the Gamexus handle on here, it weighed 22.7. So it added just a little teeny bit of weight as far as this handle goes, but it's a larger handle on here, so that's to be expected. But that's the weight on this reel, and that gives you a better idea of kind of what you're going to need as far as a rod goes to balance it out. Guys, pros and cons on this reel. First, we'll go with the cons, and I would say the weight might be the biggest thing, because at 22.7 ounces, basically it's coming in at 1 pound, or a pound and 6.5 ounces. Fairly heavy reel, so you're pushing that 1.5 pound mark as far as the weight on this reel goes. I've heard some people say the smoothness on this reel is not what they wanted, but I have not had that experience with this reel, or really other Penn reels. I just haven't found that. Now, as far as the pros go, number one, this thing is as tough as a tank. You can beat the snot out of this thing and it's going to keep on doing its thing. I mean, it is a very tough, durable reel. Also, it's very watertight with the sealed system that it's got for everything, for the bearings. We talked about the gasket here on the side plate. I'm not saying you can submerge it, but I think it's going to be able to keep out a lot of that salt, sand, dirt, grime, other things that's going to make your life miserable out there on the water. And then also, I really like this thick bail assembly that's on here. It is tough as nails, and that's something that is a concern a lot of times, because this is not designed to be a flex bail or anything like that. This is one that is designed for just everyday use and to be very durable and to last year after year. Final thoughts on this reel. As far as a rod to put on it, I would go with at least an 8 to 10 foot rod, surf rod or river rod. Actually, I'm going to put this on a 10-foot bummy stick, Bama bummy stick, and that would be the surf setup for it. And actually, this reel and that rod are a buddy of mine, Scott's, that you guys have seen on the channel here before. And that I think a 10-foot rod is perfect for something like this, especially if you're surf fishing, you're trying to catch those big bull reds, fishing offshore, and you're trying to catch those cobia or even snapper. And then as far as freshwater fishing goes, if you're trying to catch those big catfish, stripers, things like that, I think this is a reel that is absolutely perfect for that. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, got something out of it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, be sure to check out all the other review videos we've got here on the channel as well. We've got reviews on spinning rods, casting rods, bait casting reels, spinning reels, you name it. We've got a whole bunch of them, plus a bunch of DIY and hack videos too. So be sure to check out the library here on Blue Line Fishing and see what else we've got for you. And remember, until that next video, get out there and fish.